Hello guys, how are you doing? My name is Winfred. Welcome to this channel. Guys, you're going to allow me to share the link just before we start, and we go on. Just a few minutes, then we start off officially. Those of you who are watching, guys, you're so much welcome. You are welcome. Just give me a few and we start off. Guys, this time allows you to tell a loved one, because the topic of discussion today is as is, guys. As you see it, so it is. So let us just get ready to dive in deep and enjoy our Friday night. I'm just sharing the link and allow those first few minutes to share the link. You can go ahead and do the same. I'm hoping you've had a pleasant week. I'm hoping that you are well, and so are your loved ones. I'm hoping you're all okay, guys. Just a minute. I don't know why. It's saying upcoming, but it should be going on. Jadine. I just want to know if someone is already able to watch. I want to know if you can hear me. Can anyone tune in? Anyone hear me? I need to know. I just need to know. Okay. I want to share the link. The topic of discussion today is why it is key to buy land in this day and age, guys. And that is our topic of discussion. My names are Winfred, guys. You're welcome once again to this channel, Digesting the Heart with Winfred. I'm so glad you guys have tuned in, and I would like to read just a few people that have just come on and let you know it's a live podcast. Shaboya, hello, how are you doing? And Kimbugwe Matthias, you are clear. Thank you so much. Now, right away, we'll start and I will read the comments later. We are talking about why it's key to buy land in this day and age. So if you're one young person that has been pushing that off, guys, tell a friend and let the friend tell a friend, because this is going to be really interesting. We have done topics before, but this one is an eye opener and it will help so many of us. I'm saying we're going to talk about a topic, something that goes beyond just money, land, beyond investments, beyond business talk. That is land. Land, that small word that carries generations inside it. It's what we are going to be talking about, land. Land, the one thing that outlives all of us. Land has been there before us. It will be even when we are long gone. Land is that one thing that is generational, that carries generations inside it. As in, if you buy land, guys, it won't be only your land to enjoy today, but it will also be land that your children will enjoy. If they don't sell off and they are wise enough, it will be for their children as well. So it's a topic that is worth investing in. So if you are like me, Friday is going quiet, you go ahead, grab a drink, grab a bite, and let us talk about land. Our grandparents had the opportunity of land that was almost free. They would own land from acres and acres and acres from one village to another. That was our grandparents. And because they had seen the value of land, they owned it and kept it. Guess what we are doing? Oh my goodness. I'll talk about our parents. Our parents had the opportunity of land that was still affordable if they just saved a little. Land was affordable then. But where we are going, guys, and I pray that everyone will tune in, and those of you who have tuned in, that you will stay on until the end. Our parents had the opportunity of land that was still affordable if they saved a little. But our generation, our time, guys, this is a generation where the race for land has become fierce. That is our generation. We don't value land. The moment you get it, you sell it, or you don't even think of ever owning it. But I'm going to tell you things that land can do today, guys. And I hope those of you who are tuned in, you stay to the end, because your life and your view of land will not stay the same. Why? Because after today, if you still see land like you've seen it for days, then guys, something is really, really wrong. Our generation has not valued what God has given us. This is how I see it, that land is part of that creation, that when God was creating, he said, let there be. And there was dry ground, there was the wet ground. And he said, let there be this, and it was. So among the things he spoke into existence was land. So that's how important it is. And that is how key that we should have it. So I know you're going to say all these other things, but the moment we get to the end, if you still have questions about what I've brought as a topic, then we can handle it. Otherwise, guys, we have not put much weight to land as it deserves. It's one of those things that God spoke into being, and it was. God did not speak that there be the latest car, the latest phone. No, he spoke about land, and land was there. He spoke about land, and land was there. Everything we do is done on land, not anywhere else. So today, guys, if you care about anyone, and when I say anyone, I mean anyone, guys, invest in land, because land is one of those things that will pat you on the shoulder when you're old and gray and won't let you down. Yeah. And I'll tell you the greatest mistake anyone can make in this day, especially in Africa. The greatest mistake we can ever make is to postpone land ownership. You always say, I'm still young, I'll get it when I'm 45. I'm still young, I'll get it at 50. I'm still busy, I'll get it at 60. That is something that we do that is so wrong. And I would beg you guys to listen and listen carefully. If after this your life is still the same and your take about land is still that, then go ahead, guys, and just deal with land any way you see. You can rent a house, but you cannot rent a legacy. That is one thing that I can say about land. I mean, you can go ahead and rent a house, the biggest house ever, and own it for a month. Guess what? You are renting it and owning it for that month. Like I say, you can rent a house, you can rent a car, but you cannot rent a legacy. A legacy is something you leave for someone else that will come on as well to enjoy or to get to, have, if enjoy is too hard. Because I want you to take, I want you to come on with me on a journey where today we reflect on land and reflect one-on-one, yeah, on land and its value. This is something I've observed as young people. We have not really valued it in our generation. Our parents used to have lots of land, and then they would have all these people working for them, our grandparents. And then they would have children and grandchildren live on there. But lately, you are lucky if your father or mother passes and leaves you a spoon. I mean, there's hardly a thing. Why? Because they don't have, and you cannot pass on what you never got. So we are literally passing on poverty, and it's a generational thing. And we think, oh, I come from a line of. I don't want to shout at you guys and be like, grab this and take it by the hook. No, this is something I want us to go on together on a journey for. I don't want to rush you. When you feel ready, you can go ahead and think of land and think of investing in land and think of, owning land. So don't rush it. If once you've understood it, because it's all about the mindset. Once the mindset is right, guess what? The rest is okay. But if the mindset is not, then trust me, there is nothing you can do about land. It just stays as one of those myths that we have about land that doesn't really mean much to us. And I wanted us to, I want you to reason together like us to reason together like a family. Because sometimes we get caught up in chasing cars, and you find someone changing cars like they are changing shoes, changing clothes. We get caught up in lifestyles, a lifestyle of a TikToker where you're changing clothes all the time, going out all the time, and people are saying, oh my goodness, his wardrobe is really fine. That is the lifestyle. Forgetting that all those things that rest on that we chase after. So like you're chasing after cars, you're chasing after clothes and a lifestyle. They rest on the ground, owned by someone else. That for me is painful. Driving your nice car and parking it at somebody else's apartment and sleeping there and calling it your home. That is such a shame. And it's something that has to leave our eyes as young people so that we look at land as in a different way altogether. So I hope by the end of this, we will be looking at land in a way that we have never looked at before. And if you think about it, every successful person you admire today, every successful person, somewhere in their story there is land. Somewhere, either they own some apartments or they own some estate somewhere, or they own lands in the village somewhere. Those people that you look at and admire that are successful, trust me, somewhere there is land in their story. They may be running a company, but the company still is on land. No one owns a company up in the sky. I mean, I've heard people are buying plots on the moon, but there's no confirmation of that. So are we all going to aim at buying and saving to go to the moon and buy plots? Why not buy where you live right now as opposed to saving to go and buy the moon, a plot? Anyway, whatever that is, they may be renting apartments to others, but that means they own the land, yeah? Under those apartments, they own, even those who lease out property, those who lease out property to people, and you come and you own it for, like I have a friend who leased out some piece of land and she put up a bar, and it has to own for 25 years, that piece of land. For 25 years. After that, if the lease is not renewed, it goes back to the owner. So she was telling me, I'm not building something permanent. I'm building something that will last just for a short time. Why? Because she didn't want to put something permanent and then later, after 25 years, someone else takes it. So that is how valuable land is. The lease is for 25 years. Every year she's got to pay some money to own for 25 years. But guess where the money she's paying every year to put up her restaurant is going to the one who invested in buying land. Even when you pass by the biggest farm, the biggest school, or shopping mall, what do they have in common? They all own land. Either a school rents your land and puts up structures to make a school, or they rent your land to put up a petrol station or a mall, whatever it is, they need land. I just want us to, first of all, click the importance of owning land, because if we get that right, guys, we cannot make mistakes. Land is that important for all of us, and all we have to do is see how important it is and then go for it. We are the generation that are going to change up on things, because other generations really did well and we have done not so well with land. We have done treacherously with it. You inherit it, and guess what? You sell it right away, or you push it on the side, as in it's expensive, and so you don't get it. Today, I hope we can all put our efforts together, see land in a different way, and pursue it. Because for everything you pursue, you will get. But that which you don't pursue, you will never get. That is how I see it. Now, they all started with someone who bought land. All those people. Now, let me tell you a small story. Yeah, when I was growing up, there was an elder man who used to own acres and acres of land, and people who would pass by, but he never wore fancy clothes or trending clothes. You know, lately in this day and age, people wear certain shoes and they're like, those are trending, those are classy. He never did any of those, and he never owned a car. And people used to say, that old man, poor man, all he does is, dig the ground and plant things. But he gave birth to children. His children grew up and they had children. So his grandchildren started building rentals on there, and they are collecting rent. That is a legacy. You leave it for your children, your grandchildren to enjoy. I mean, you may fail to develop the land because you don't have enough resources, but if you don't sell it, your children would come in. Because you've already got the land, any money they get is always enough for them to start off building something that would be developmental. So I hope you can understand when I say land is really key. Now, they mocked him, and because he had nothing to show, no car, nothing. But now his grandchildren, you always say, those are the Mokasa kids, and yet, while he lived, no one ever thought he was rich. So that I want to see the moral in this. Land never depreciates, guys, in value. Only people's visions do. It never depreciates. You just lose the vision of it and sell it as though it's nothing. Land you got from your parents, it never depreciates. It actually just appreciates, because anytime there are developments around your land that you get in poverty, in struggle, in saving, anytime you get it, give it a few years. Even if you just leave it there and act like you've forgotten it, go back to it, you'll find that the money you paid for it before has either doubled or tripled or quadrupled. It just goes up. It is our vision that changes. And that's what I want to awaken all of us to today. the vision, yeah? The understanding that in this day where money moves faster and trends change overnight, land remains the one thing that does not go out of fashion. Land doesn't, guys. I mean, I could buy myself these nice jeans or buy myself this nice phone that has just come out. But the next year, another one will come up. Guess what I'll do? I want to either do away with this one and get another one, which doesn't mean necessarily that I've added on more income. It's actually these other things that we get that depreciate, but land always just appreciates. Let's face it, guys, we are living in the digital age, yeah? And people are investing in crypto, online stores, they are investing in Forex, so many fancy things that they are investing in. And yes, they have their place. But the truth is, when the internet goes down, when the currency shifts, yeah, when the economy shakes, the only thing that still stands literally and physically is land. I mean, I was hearing just a couple of weeks, I think a week ago, when they were talking about how right now we are talking the America shutting down, and we heard that many markets closed, even those who are trading online closed because because of the shutdown, everything was, not working as should. Those people who depend on Amazon were not able to even trade. Like I said, when those people are trading in cryptocurrencies or crypto online stores, in Forex, in those many fancy things, when the internet goes down, oh my goodness, when the currencies shift, when the economy shakes, it is the only thing that wouldn't shake or be moved would be land. So I'm here to interest you in land so that you look at land in a way that you've never looked at it before. That is the economic way that we are first going to deal with before we really go to reality. It is the only investment that you can see, touch, and pass on. I mean, these are the things. I can have cryptocurrency. I can't touch and pass on. I can just believe it's out there, it's working for me money. But land, you can see, you can touch, and you can really pass on the land titles to your children. So in case you've not thought of it that way, you see, when we buy land, you are not just buying soil, but you are buying freedom. A person who owns land is at liberty that no one else knows. Yeah? Freedom to build what you want. The reason why I say is buying, a person who buys land buys freedom. You have the freedom to buy and build what you want. Not like I come to rent here. For some reason, there's a room here that I don't want. You built it. I just have to pay rent and live in it and then think of what to do with what you put on there. But I can't change it. But when you buy land, you are free to build as per what you want. There is freedom to grow what you want. I mean, if I have my garden out there, I can plant anything. Why? Because it's my land. But if it's not, there are some places you go and rent, and even the landlord says no one should plant anything. This is not their land. It's my land, no planting things. So if you're going to plant something outside, it has to be in a pot. And that's why you see many people who are renting have pots and they put their flowers in there. You're restricted. But when you go ahead and buy land, you have the freedom to plant what you want, to build what you want, to dream what you want, freedom to sleep knowing that your children will never be tenants. That peace, my goodness, it's not like anything you can quantify. The peace that you're sleeping and your children will never be tenants, that is good. That's comforting, because each time if you're worried about rent, all the time rent, your kids will grow up worried about the same as well. But the beauty about that, it can push them into owning or into desiring to own their land, so no one knocks on their door every month end. And I know some of you listening right now might say, Winfred, land is expensive. I know people are going to say that. They say land is expensive, and it is true. Land is expensive, I agree. But also let me ask you this. Was it ever cheap for a dreamer to dream? I mean, the dreamer to just be there and dream. Is it cheap to dream? Because dreams also come true when you invest in a lot, not just dreaming. If you think it's expensive now, if you think land is expensive, try 5, 10 years from now. Because with the East African community, I'm talking from Uganda. Those of you who are watching, it's a live podcast. And in case you didn't know, you can go ahead and drop in the comment section what your take is about land. Otherwise, you're watching this program from Uganda. Because we joined the East African community, the value of land shot up so high and so fast, and it is still shooting because people from Kenya are coming in and they have a right to buy land. People from Tanzania are coming in and they have a right to buy land. People from Rwanda, anyone that is in the East African community can come in and buy land. Now, the thing is, our money has no value. So these other countries, their currencies are doing very well. And because they are doing very well, those people can come here and afford land. That is why if you have been so much thirsty for money, they will come and offer you a fee and you just leave. And guess what? You will have to come back trying to rent from them, either a shop or a house to live in. Or you have to go and live very far where probably there is no developments like power or water, and you live, in a place where there is less facilities. So we need to value land. The reason I started off like this is because I want us to see land differently from today, so that if you have it, you hold on to it. And if you don't have it, you aim as much as you can to make sure you get it. The difference between those who own land and those who don't is not always money. It is priority. It is not always money. I know of someone who had money, but it had never crossed him to ever buy land. Never. Always his thoughts were on other things, eating out, partying, treating friends well. That was his drive all along. And the reason for that was because at that point in time, that is what counted for him. It wasn't now. That's why I said you have to note, it is not money that stopped him from buying land. It is the priorities. His priorities were not straight at that point in time. So the difference between someone who has money and land and someone who doesn't, it is priority. It's not money. If it is that first thing that you wake up to and the last thing you wake up thinking of, you will get that land. But if it is not, you just keep on saying, land is expensive. And that is it. That is your excuse. Because land responds to discipline. Guys, you need to note this. Land responds to discipline, not excuses. It has to be a discipline where you say, if I'm living somewhere, let me plant maybe vegetables, because this one lasts for 3 months. For 3 weeks, I am harvesting vegetables, so like greens. In Uganda, we have what we call dodo, nakati, boga. Those things can grow in 2 weeks, and you can plant them one time and keep on harvesting, because all you do is cut off and others spring up. You cut this lot and the other springs up, and each cluster of greens goes for 1,000 shillings. So there are ways that if I have my priorities straight, even the little money that I earn, I can keep, and guess what? Use it to keep me going and saving until I land on that piece of land that I can afford. Like I said, land responds to discipline, not excuses. You will never get land because you have many excuses. You can never. But you always get land. There are chances of you getting land if you have a discipline to save. That would always get you closer to your goal of having land. There is a saying I like so much, that the best time for buying land was yesterday. The second best time is today. That is a saying that I saw somewhere and I noted that the best time to buy land was yesterday, but the second best time of buying land is today. So you cannot keep on postponing that I'll get it. purpose that I'll get land and start working towards it. Land does not respond to excuses. It responds to discipline. Like I said, this is not a talk about real estate. I'm not vouching for real estate. It's a talk about vision and responsibility. Because you can't say you want to get generational wealth, yeah, when your generation never owned nothing. You can't. So unless generational wealth is not something you're thinking of, we always believe in generational curses. We call them curses simply because none in your family ever owned land, and so you think you can never. It's something that is out there for others to get, but not you. God is not respect of persons. To our discipline, God himself responds. If you choose to eat all your money, like we say in Uganda, now eat your money, or like the Nigerians say, that if we choose to eat our money and not save, trust me, what will come to us is what we have sowed so much in. But if we choose to sacrifice today, our priorities straighten today, guess what will happen? We will be able to afford even those things that we see others having, and they seem to be far off. They seem to be way beyond us. Those things we'll be able to get. But if we keep on thinking it's one of those things that are very far, we can never have, it's beyond us, that is how it will be. But if we purpose today that we are going to work, save the little that we have. I have someone that I saved money for. Small money she would give. Every time she would give me small money, and I saw that money grow. And I said to myself, that is something I will want to do as well. Saving small money. Before you know it, that money has multiplied, that money has grown, and it has become something you cannot equate to. And it does for you big things. We are going to go beyond the numbers, beyond locations, beyond price, and talks about the meaning of land. Today we are going to go really deep. So those of you who are tuning in, it's a live podcast, and you're very lucky that we are talking about land, because your perspective of land won't be the same again. Because once you understand its meaning, you will never see it the same way again. We have undervalued land. We have, there are people who are working, we call them the corporate people, working and living. The first thing they do once they get to be corporate, they live in those apartments, they get a car on loan, they start driving around and living those clean, nicely put up apartments. But remember, guys, just a spoiler alert, those apartments are not yours. Even when they are nice to show to your friends, when they come to visit, even when they look good, when you're taking TikTok videos. Like I remember one lady telling one of my sisters who has her rentals that I want you to repaint this veranda. I don't want the color on there. I want you to change it because I'm on TikTok. I want my fans, my followers to see a different color, because she was tired of the color that was on the wall. So she was demanding my sister to repaint the wall so that she can do better videos on TikTok. Now, guys, who is foolish here? Those are not your apartments. You're on TikTok, and I know you'll get paid eventually, but you're not getting paid right away. And you're paying her lots of money for you to be in her house and do your TikTok. So when we wake up early, the money you pay in these apartments, I'm not saying don't live in apartments, but live in them with your eyes open, planning, having a time plan that in this time, having saved this much, I will get myself out of here and get my own land, however small, however far, as long as it's mine. Why? We'll get to know why it is key that we have our own land. Because every kingdom, guys, in history was built on land. There is no kingdom you had. We studied in history about the Napoleon Bonapartes, all these other political leaders or kingdoms, the Hitlers. They built their kingdoms on land, not in the sky. So that is why it is key that we don't take land light. Every war was fought on land, not in the sky. All the wars that you can think of were fought on land, and they were fought basing on land. These people who came and colonized us, they came and took our land. They were fighting to take over our land. They came to South Africa, took the people's land. They were after land. So if other people can value it in other countries, we as Africans as well ought to value what we have, which is land, because that is the only portion of God's creation that you can really have the opportunity of owning. Otherwise, you can never own the moon, never own the stars, even when you have so much money and you can afford to tell people to go up there and get you one because you are craving for one. You cannot, but you can afford to buy cars, clothes, shoes. But as for the land, it is what God created, and it's a privilege for all of us to own it. Every peace agreement was signed about land. I know for us, we had the 1900 agreement. It was still about land. And every inheritance passed down, parent to child, revolves around land. I mean, I can leave my car to my child, but a car even in the next week could have an accident and be gone. But that land, as long as it's not sold, will remain there for my child. And even the Bible says, the meek shall inherit the earth. What does that mean? The earth is the land we are living on, guys. It's a live podcast, and I'm here to talk about why it is key that we own land in this day and age. Young people, our generation have not valued it, and that is why I'm here to awaken all of us to see that, I mean, it's not a thing that fades away. People are coming from other countries and owning land in your country while you don't, and that means you're going to be enslaved permanently. There are some places in Lagos that you cannot stay anymore. Why? Because land has been bought, and and the houses, what makes capital cities expensive is because the land in there has been sold. And when sold, people have nowhere to stay in town or in the capital, so they go to the outskirts. It's okay to live in the outskirts, but also the city develops, the city grows. I'll tell you a story of another gentleman that went and bought his land, but you see that the city is growing and it's growing out. But before you know it, where you are living, before you can't live there anymore. So that is why it's key that when you have land, keep it and keep it tight so that it doesn't slip out of your land or your hands. That means that true wealth, true inheritance, guys, true stability is tied to land. True inheritance, true stability is tied to land. If you don't have it, you can be moved anytime. I know of people who move every 3 months because the landlords raise their rent every 3 months. So these people have moved every 3 months. They are moving. In a year, they have moved like 6 times. And you're like, I last heard you lived in Wandegea. And they're like, no, we are now in Kawempe. And you're like, okay, it looks like they are moving, not because they want to, but because the landlords increase the rent or change upon their terms, and they can't stand them anymore, and so they leave. Now, guys, you want stability. Land is the thing. Even if it is a small plot, guys, small, and people say, all you have is that small thing. Well, as long as it's got your name on it, it is better than something big that is not yours to own. I hope someone is hearing. I hope someone is taking note and changing their attitude towards this. When the Bible says that the meek shall inherit the earth, that means that true wealth, true stability, true inheritance is tied to land. Some people think they need millions to buy land. No. And I'll say it because I've seen it before. Yeah. You just need a seed, a little bit of truth, and a long-term mindset. A long-term mindset. You can be like, how I will never die until I own my own place. There's a gentleman I took to work somewhere. I took somewhere to work, and he saw these big houses and in a nice neighborhood, and he said, I will not die. I will not leave this world unless I've built a house like that one and lived in it. And right now he's not there, but that's why I said, guys, it's a long, it starts with a big, sorry, I said, just a minute. You just need a seed. Someone telling you, planting that seed that you can own land, and it sticks in you. And then slowly by slowly, you start looking, saving towards it. You don't need to have millions straight away to buy land right away. No, you just have to have that seed planted in you. A little bit of truth. That's true, I need it. And once the eyes have been unveiled about how you need to know the value of land, about how you need land, then guess what will happen? You have that long-term mindset. When I say long-term, you think about it today while you walk around appreciating all these nice places. That is how you start acquiring land. You don't just go and buy the first piece of land that you see. You can see a piece of land, go and inquire. The other day I was with my sister, and we're looking at houses, and she wasn't settling for the first house she saw. She was shopping for houses to buy. And she was like, yeah, they are still building more houses. So even if she doesn't have the money right now, she knows it's already birthed in her head, in her mind, that she wants to own property in her homeland, Uganda. So guys, once it is planted as a seed and the mindset is set as well, then you can start. So this whole excuse of land being expensive, I'm not saying go and buy it today. Go and take someone's life and take their land. No, I'm saying it's the mindset. It is that seed that grows. Like when you put mangoes in the ground, they don't grow the next day. They take time. And at some point, people may pass by and not know even that there's something in the ground, when actually a mango is springing up soon, and fruits will be born anytime after that. Because when you buy land, you are not buying for today, you are buying for tomorrow. Yeah, you are buying for your children, your name. Yeah. Now you will go deeper into this conversation. I want us to go deeper into land, because the first intro bit was just to introduce us to land, so that our eyes are open to seeing and know, our minds open to understanding how important it is to us. I want you to reflect on the question: if you were not here tomorrow, what would your children stand on? You can reflect on that, literally or physically, ground under someone else's names. Yeah, that is something to think about. The question, my friends, determines that the legacy you are building. That question determines the legacy you're building. Are you building something that are you planning to have something you leave behind for your children and also your grandchildren? The Bible says that a wise man leaves wealth for his children and grandchildren's children. So it has to go beyond. What kind of wealth can you leave? I mean, if I left you a car, I cannot trust that that car will go to your children and your children's children, because it's a car. It depreciates. Even the next minute, it could get into an accident and be completely destroyed. So land is that one thing that will stay. As long as you don't sell it, it will stay. So tonight we continue to go deeper into land. And I'm going to take you on a journey from mindset to meaning, from vision to action, so that we may all, at the end of the day, work towards owning our own land, our properties, our houses. Because it's not enough to say one day I will buy land. It's not enough. We can always just say one day I'll buy land and just leave it at that. One day has to be this day. It has to be this day. Because the truth is, land waits for no one. When we were growing up, we used to pass by certain places and we'll be like, when I grow up, we live on Entebbe Road. We wanted to always live on Entebbe Road because that's where we grew up from. So we wanted Entebbe Road so desperately. Why? Because it's what we knew. We knew Entebbe Road, was the place where we grew up from. But before, when we were growing up, there were not many houses. My goodness. Go past Entebbe Road now, there are houses literally everywhere. And we kept on being worried as we were going through high school, saying, where will we live? What will we own? But God is faithful. Time came, and those who kept on believing that He would bless them with land really have it. And those who didn't probably are not. But we used to say that, and we saw God pulling through. Because it's not enough, like I said, to say one day I'll buy land. The one day has to be this day. Because the truth is, land waits for no one, and opportunity, once gone, does not knock the same way again. If you have the money and if you are in position to buy it, buy it. Don't keep on postponing. I know of people who can afford, who get millions a month, but the last thing they are doing is buying land. All they are doing is throwing party after party after party and living large, ordering in, driving the latest, buying phones, latest clothes. But those are all things that you can use while you're on land. If you lose the platform where you are going to be based, then you've really lost out. I'm going to ask that you stay with me, guys. Let's go deeper. Let's understand why it is key to buy land in this day. I want us to stay together. It's a live podcast. You can drop your comments. I will read them. There will be a slot where I'll read whatever you have talked about land or your thoughts about land. But for now, we are just going. The mindset shift is what we are going to talk about now. Why land ownership is empowerment. Why land ownership is empowerment. You see, before anyone can buy land, their mind must first change. Before you buy land, you don't wake up today and like I go to town and buy shoes. No, when you're going to buy land, your mindset must have to change first. Where you're like, I'm really tired of renting. It starts at a place where you get tired of certain things. Then you're like, okay, now let me get my own place, and do what I want. Because unless you can't just wake up and be like, I'm going out. You go buy land and you come back. You have the land title. It's something that takes time, and it starts with the mindset. Because land ownership is not just a financial act. It's also a mental shift that goes on. And if we are honest with ourselves, many people today are not poor because they lack opportunity. It is not that. They are poor because they lack the mindset of ownership. There's some people who have just given up and they don't believe in ever owning anything. There was this guy I met and he was saying, for us, I come from a very poor background. My father never even owned a bicycle. So how can I own a motorcycle? Now that is his mindset. So even if you came trying to persuade him to get a motorcycle, he's like, that is way out of my league because my parents never owned. No one in my clan. There is even another gentleman I had who said, no one in my clan has ever finished primary 7. So how can I go ahead and finish senior 4? So that was his mindset. And so for him, primary 7 was a big deal. Yeah. So it is us who have to change our mindset in order to be able to advance and get to those things that others have owned. They don't own them easily. And if we are honest with ourselves, people today are not poor, like I said, because they lack opportunity. They are poor because of lack of the mindset of ownership. And when I say that, I'm going to explain. A tenant's mind thinks in months. A tenant's mind. Agree with me on this, guys. It thinks in terms of months. How much rent must I pay this month? I have got the rent for the landlord, so now I'm sorted for the month. That is how that's how the mind works when you are a tenant. As long as you get the landlord rent and you get some few bills off the list, you are okay. And that is how years pass by without you knowing. And before you know it, you are a 50-year-old, a 60-year-old renting at someone's place. Where are you going to get the money to pay rent after you are old and not working? Unless you've, signed a life of working all your life. The freedom you get when you're sleeping in your own house, however small, if no one is going to knock you and say, I'm here to get rent, you will sleep the best sleep ever. I remember that day we put up something with my husband and we spent the first night. We could not believe it that our dream had gotten on paper and actually manifested as a house, and we lived in it. Even went to people's other sites, it wasn't the best. It was everything to us. Why? Because it was our dream that got on paper, and now we were seeing. So we didn't care what others thought. We were living and no one was knocking at our door saying at the month end, I'm waiting for the money, or you have been late this time round. So guys, I'm here to just awaken us to the reality that land is something that we need to get desperately. I mean, we need to get yesterday, not today. Today is okay as well, but yesterday, as in we should have got it even long time ago. If we can afford it, we need to get it right away. But I was giving you the mindset of a tenant. Now I'll give you the mindset of a landowner. The landowner mind thinks deeper. How will the land feed my family in 10 years? So they are thinking, I should put up this and build something here because this one will sort my son's fees, this one will sort my daughter's, this one will be mine for retirement. Their mind is different. It is thinking of how they will sort or feed their families off that land. That is why at the month end, the landlord doesn't forget to come knocking. You are late. We need that money. Why? Because their mind is thinking of how the land that they got will feed their families. That's the difference between living to survive and living to build. The tenants live to survive and the landlords live to build. If they have pieces of land, they're like, I'll squeeze another room here and I think someone will be able to sleep here and pay me this much. So they are living to build. While you're renting, you're living to survive. You can't talk about land ownership if your heart is still in the mindset of renting everything. You can't. Renting your house, renting your car, renting your dreams, renting your future. Everything is just rent, rent, rent. You cannot. Some people even rent confidence. I'll give you an example. I'm pursuing this girl, and then I go rent a car and get her in and take her to my friend's place. It's not even mine. It's not my place. It's not enough that the car is not mine, but also the place is not mine that I'm taking. So some people rent confidence as well. They borrow it from others until it fades. You believe in your tomorrow. Enough to plant something permanent today. Yeah, that's what empowerment looks like. Believing in the future even when the present doesn't look perfect. Empowerment is like that. You believe that, in 2 years' time, I'll buy my own piece of land. Even when today that doesn't look perfect, but you believe that it will be better. I met a young man who was a border rider, and he was a border rider in Kampala, ferrying people back and forth, from one place to another. And he went on and saved his money. I'm giving you an example. He was or he was a border rider or a motorcycle rider, ferrying people from one place to another. And those of you who are living in Uganda know how borders work. You know, they carry people from one place to another. And it wasn't earning much because he had to take care of himself, his family, and fuel the border and still save. But because his mindset was right, he used to work and save some money, not much, but some, until one day he had. And it's amazing. It's like God who pours. God is the one who pours opportunity to have a mind of saving. Because for some reason he heard that someone was selling land in Mukono. And it wasn't going expensively. It was cheap land, but people were telling him that is very far, it is very small, very far. Why would you go to Mukono? I mean, the land he got was in Mukono. And he didn't care much. So he continued working his border and put up rentals on his piece. It wasn't a big piece. It was a 50 by 100. But he put his unit there where he would stay, and he put the rest rentals. Guys, he's no longer riding a border or a motorcycle. He's now a landlord waiting to collect rent from people. And how this happened was the city grew and it got closer to him. It made his place better than it was before and appreciated in value. And guess what? Now he's a landlord that collects rent, no longer riding motorcycles. He rides them as a means of transport when he's going to collect his rent or when he's going to town to buy his things. His investment started off from there. So his journey out of poverty wasn't one that you inherited something, or wasn't one where he won the lottery or had this corporate job that gave him the kickstart. No, he started small. Like I said, he was riding the motorcycle, and right now he is a landlord. So it goes to show you guys that it is possible. I wanted you to see, do you see the difference? The difference. He didn't want to be rich to buy land. He didn't wait to be rich to buy land. He became rich because he bought land. So it goes to show you that land can make you rich if you have it. I used to play Monopoly a lot with my kids, and I wanted to get something in their heads so that they can start valuing land. So we would play Monopoly. One of my daughters would always have money, have a lot of money, but have no property. And each time we play Monopoly, I beat them. And they're like, Mommy, how? Until one time, one of them asked me, why is it every time we play Monopoly, you win us? Well, I said, it's just simple. I was all along waiting for someone to ask. I never keep money. I keep assets. I buy land. And each time you land on my property, you have to pay because you've landed there. If I put up a hotel, you're doubling the amount you're paying me. If I own all properties, you are paying me more rent just to land on there. And if I build houses, it's incredible, you have to pay. So until they got it, now they don't aim at, when they are playing, they don't aim at getting the money. They aim at buying property slowly by slowly. Each time you pass go, you get 200. In other words, in real life, if opportunities come and you get any money, you save a little bit here, a little bit there. And before you know it, you can afford those pieces of land and become a landlord yourself. It is not a generational curse that we should lock ourselves into and be like, well, we are cursed as a family, and so we can never own property. You can own property just like someone else owns it. You can as well. You can own property. So it goes to show you that it's not limited to one person. Yeah. And I say that this with love and truth. I'm saying all this with love and truth. I mean, there are some people who can say you are just saying this out of spite. No, it is not. It is a mind of saving. I've seen someone save 5,000, 10,000 on a regular. It's consistency. It is a mindset. When you save, and when she was saving like that, she got herself a phone, was able to get a motorcycle that made business for her. She was able to get capital and start her own business and left the job she was working at and started having her own money. So saving and buying or getting things is a mindset, guys. There are things I've afforded today Not because I had a lot of money, but because my mind was set on saving. Like you purpose, we want to have some new plates, and you start saving. How much are plates? You walk around, find out the price, and guess what? You save that money. When you save over time, even those things that seemed way out of your reach would be affordable to you, and so you would get them. But if we have the mindset of it's expensive, we always stay away from things. Guess what happens, guys? We will never have them, and they will be left for those particular people who have the mindset. But we are here to change upon things, guys. We are here to change upon things where we believe it can happen and it can be done. We just have to start somewhere. There are some people who want to look successful before they become successful. Those people are so many. There are so many. They want to look successful before they actually make it. Oh, those people are on some streets like Market Street, like on NASA. You find them all nice shoes, nicely tucked in, iron shirts. But guys, when you get, even as ladies, when we are going off to town, if you don't see where we are coming from, you would think we've got it all together. But when we are so broke, my father used to say something like, ever smart and ever broke are Ugandans, because we always wear our money. Why do we do that? No one knows. People in other countries, they could be millionaires. And I'm not talking about in shillings, in dollars, in pounds. But they wear comfort. As long as they get their money working for them. They don't wear their money. But us black people, we have all the bling bling. We are driving the wheels. We have the grills in our teeth. Oh my goodness. We just walk around looking and wearing our money, as opposed to having it work for us, so that on a rainy day, we have something to tap in. That is such a shame, guys. I was saying there are some people who would rather buy cars to impress than a plot to progress. You buy a car so that you can impress the girls, so that you can impress people in your village, than buying land or a plot of land to progress. They are out for impressing than progressing. But the car does lose value, guys. The moment you start the engine, the value starts dropping. Like this, the moment you start, the oil can get old and it damages the engine. Before you know it, the spark plugs need to be fixed. The shocks are worn out. So the car goes down. It loses value the moment you start the engine. The land, on the other hand, guys, gains value the moment you own it. The moment you buy it, it gains value. I have my brother who bought some land somewhere. And when we went there, we were the very first people on the ground. But in less than a year, the place transformed completely. As in, you could get there and be like, whoa. And now I hear people say, that is a place for only rich people. It must be expensive to buy there. But while we were getting the place, it wasn't cheap. Don't get me wrong. It wasn't cheap, but it wasn't as pricey as it has become in just a year or two. A thing has just shot up. So land just goes up the moment you buy it. A car, the moment you start the engine, it drops. It drops value. It's already considered a used car the moment you start the engine after you've bought it. Yeah? That's the power of long-term thinking. You see, empowerment is not when someone gives you money. No, it's not. Empowerment is when you gain control over where you live. The moment you can decide where you're living, if you have your own piece of land and you're renting, anytime the landlord is like, hey, making noise for you, you're like, I don't have to take this. You park and you can leave because you have your own place. But if you don't, even when the landlord is in the wrong, you have to be humble. You have to be compliant, because after all, they are his or her houses. She had to sacrifice and put them up, and you came in to enjoy. So if she's making changes, I mean, I've seen landlords every Christmas, instead of, wishing people Christmas, they write notes and tell tenants, effective 31st December, rent is going up by 100,000. If you cannot afford, plan to leave, and that's your Christmas message. So you eat Christmas worried. What is going to happen next year? The landlord has shot up the rent by 100, and this rent goes up, not because they've done something to the property, no, just because they felt like, or they had a need that required more money, or because they thought, why not? And I mean, they are right, because it's their property, they save towards it. So I hope we can also borrow the same and start believing in ourselves that we can become landowners. We start small. You have to start somewhere. Get a tin, drop in money. I know you don't believe it, but I've seen it for myself when 5,000 became 100,000, when 5,000 became 500,000, 5,000 became 1,000,000, 2,000,000. Oh my goodness. And it did these other different things with someone saving that much. So we can start somewhere. We can purpose to do something today and see results. Because to a saver, you can never mock a saver. Like I said, empowerment is when you gain control over where you live, what you grow, and leave behind when you're gone. And nothing gives you more control in life than owning the ground you walk on. Nothing. Knowing that this building is mine. You guys, I don't know whether you've seen landlords come in at the shops where you're renting or at the house where you're living. Landlords come in and they really make you, and they can even come and check your saucepan and wonder, what is this you're cooking? Are you eating 2 meals when you've not paid rent? They do such things. Why? Because, I mean, it makes you feel a certain way when you own the ground that you're walking on. Even in the Bible, land was a symbol of promise. When God spoke to Abraham, he didn't promise him cars or fancy phones or latest, trending clothes, no, or titles. He didn't. He promised him land, because God knew that when you own land, you own the power to multiply everything else. That is why God gave Abraham a promise of land. He knew. I mean, he could have said, I'll leave you with a Cadillac or whatever those fancy cars. My friend loves BMWs. He didn't leave Abraham with BMWs or Benzes or whatever those nice cars are. He didn't. And he could have, because he knows what is best for mankind. But guess what? That is not what he left him, because it doesn't really matter. He left him with land, because with land, you have the power to do everything else. So that is why we need to take land seriously, guys. If God can consider it as something really worth having, we need to aim towards getting it. And if we've got it, keeping it. That is why we must teach our children. Now I'm getting to the children. We must teach our children early. Don't just dream of jobs, because our children can aim at having jobs. Dream of ownership. Dream of owning something in this world, because you can lose a job, but you can't lose your land unless you've sold it. You can lose your job anytime. There comes a manager that just doesn't like you, or something just happens that sends your company down the drain, and that's the end of it. But the land that you own, if you don't sell it, if there is a property that you've got and you don't squander it, go borrow money off it, it will stay yours. You can get fired, but your land title won't ever fire you. I want us to see land in a different way. Your land title can never fire you, but your boss can fire you. And that's the end of it for you. And here's the truth, guys. No government, no boss, no system will ever empower you. No. none of those will ever empower you more than your piece of land. Your piece of land can make you dream. You can wake up and just be like a god. I'm going to plant tomatoes there. I think I'll put oranges there. I'm going to put cassava there. I want to change that corner of the house and make it into this. You are the boss. The land will make you feel that way. I have my brother and I know he's watching. He has dreams, my goodness. And he says, I like to have some pigeons. I had to like have this. And he can have them. Why? It is his land and he can dream. But if you don't have that, you can't dream. So land has that tendency, guys. It empowers you. It is one of those things that will empower you. No job, no system, no policy can ever make you empowered, but the land that you own. That is why we teach our children to dream, to not just dream of jobs, but also ownership of land. And here's the truth, like I said, when you have land, you no longer depend on someone's mood to feed your family. The moment you have land, I know there's so much that is entailed in feeding your family. But if you have your land, you don't have to depend on someone to feed your family. Like there are times I don't have any money. Guess what? I go down in my garden, I get some cassava, I can make a meal out of it. I go looking around in the garden, I can get some vegetables and I make, and we don't go hungry. But where will you do that when you're living on apartments? Or where will you do that when you're living on someone's land who says no planting anything? So it's land that can give us that empowerment, guys. I hope someone is getting excited like I am and trying to aim higher and making sure that they go own land. You can plant, you can build, you can lease, you can suddenly, and suddenly your options multiply if you have land. But if you don't have land, you can't dream. You can't just wake up and, start building. I mean, you're a tenant. You have no right to do anything on my land, make changes on my piece of land, except I've given it to you. But the moment you have land, you can dream, you can build, you can plant, and suddenly your options multiply. And that's empowerment. That is empowerment. Now let's go deeper into the mindset itself. If you notice, most people who own land, this is something I want us to be honest about. Most people who own land early have one thing in common. I mean, those who own land early, they didn't grow up renting. Yeah? They grew up living on property owned. They inherited property early. Yeah? They value sacrifice and not show off. They value sacrifice and not show off. There are some people you just meet and know this one has just landed in money because of the way they behave, undermining others, spending money, lacking value for money and property. But people who have grown up when they are not renting, like you grew up when your father has some farmland somewhere, or your mother has some properties somewhere, you want to have your own as well. You're like, Mom, if you give me some money, I'll also buy my piece and then, rent it out. It's the mindset because of where they've grown up from. Those people have owned land quite early, but those who own it late, anytime they have a problem, they just want to sell. And guess what? Because they are used to renting, it's so easy for them. And so it seems like an option if they have no property they own. They aren't moved by trends, people who have owned land early, while others are busy trying to keep up appearances. They are quietly buying acres of land. And when they buy you, they don't let you know. They acquire land here, they acquire land there, and they don't get the mic and start screaming, recording on TikTok that I've just got another piece, come and see. No, they don't. They quietly acquire land. They understand the world has forgotten what the world has forgotten, that wealth whispers while poverty shouts. Those people who have owned land early, do understand the difference. They understand that wealth whispers and poverty shouts. That is why you see people who are broke. They are always smart. My goodness, they are nicely tucked in. Their shoes are in place. Even these broke girls, yeah, even broke girls do that. They look good, but when you see where they come from, it's somewhere in the ghetto somewhere. That is where they come from, and until you follow them and get to see where they're branching off, you actually think they've parked a car somewhere. But like I said, wealth whispers and poverty shouts. That's the difference. That those people who have acquired property early have come to understand and realize. So if you want to change your story, change your mindset, you have to get to that place where your mindset is changed and you start believing and looking at life differently. Otherwise, if you look at things the way you do now, then guess what? You will think that life is as is when it's not. And that is something that has got to change for all of us. Ask yourself, what if I reduced my weekend expenses? If I started saving towards a piece of land? What if I, instead of scrolling endlessly online, I started researching affordable plots in growing areas? Because that is possible. I have someone that I know who, ever since he started building or bought land, he's always checking out properties that are out for sale, always checking out places that are growing very fast. That is one way we can grow. But guys, if all we are doing is scrolling through things that are usually people twisting their faces, dancing, changing clothes, eating certain foods, that won't add to you anything. But we need to get to that place where we change our lifestyles and we reduced on our weekend expenses and started saving, where we instead of scrolling endlessly online, we start researching affordable plots in growing areas. What if we delayed luxury today? You delay it intentionally to create a legacy for tomorrow. How about if we did that? There's someone that I know that is saying it's intentional. He always says it's intentional. Intentional. He's trying to create a legacy for tomorrow and delaying luxuries for today. Even if you told him, why don't you go out? He's like, all that will come, all in good time. And guess what? It will come for him because he has sacrificed so much to be where he is now. But if you choose to live for today, trust me, tomorrow it's like you've eaten everything. There's a song that a gentleman sang and said that people are always saying that they are eating life. What will you do when you've eaten it all up? Because anything you eat eventually runs out. So if you're eating your money, a time will come when you have nothing to eat and nowhere to, shelter yourself. What if we delayed luxuries today, like I said, and created a legacy for tomorrow? That is something we can all think about, because listen, land just doesn't reward those with money. Land doesn't do that, and we have it wrong when we think that way. It rewards those with a vision and consistency. I have my vision. I want to live in a certain place. At this age, I want to be living in my own house. I want, I'm going to do it for this period. That is why I say consistency. You save. I mean, I saw this lady save 5,000 every day. When she had a good day, she would save 10,000. If she had a really excellent day, she would save 20. And I saw her money grow. That goes to show you that even with a little, I mean, this was a border man that I just talked about. And he would save, because after he's taken off his daily expenses, as in fueling the motorcycle, feeding his house, buying clothes for himself, and taking care of himself, he would save. Whether it was 5,000, he would save it, but consistently. And when the opportunity struck of land being sold, he grabbed it, got the piece, and no one could talk him out of, his land that he had thought of buying. Even a security guard, guys, can buy land. If he's disciplined, he can buy land. Even a teacher can buy a plot if she believes in planting a future. Why? Because it's all about consistency. Even if you say, I will save out of my salary of 200,000, I will save 50,000 every month. You count that money over time. My dear, that money should multiply, should grow, because you're doing it consistently. And you can have a work plan of 5 years working, 5 years saving, 5 years affording that piece of land that has been elusive. Yeah. Because what you believe about yourself, this is what I want us to all look at. What we believe about ourselves determines what we build for ourselves. And ownership changes how people see you and how you see yourself. Ownership of land. I mean, there are places we've bought land, and I've overheard people say, are those the owners of that place? How did they get it? Now it's up to them to come up with ways they thought we got it. But it doesn't add up. But it's all about saving. Over time, you can save. And before you know it, those things that have been elusive can be affordable to all of us. Because the Bible says God has no respect of persons. He loves us all. So if we all purpose, some of us have to go through that long route where you didn't inherit anything to get to what we have. And some of us just sit back and lick our wounds and like, my mom died, my father died, they left me nothing, and so I have nothing. And you keep on singing that song. Once you get tired of singing that song and you choose to take life by the horn, trust me, things will get brighter and better. When you own land, this is an observation, your voice even gets stronger. When you go to a meeting, say like a village meeting, I've been in several. But if you own land and you're not a tenant, you're like, your voice is strong. I've heard those people who own land, how they speak. They speak in a way like they want to be recognized, because owning it will feel special for you. It changes how people see you. Owning land will change how people see you and how you even see yourself. You'll be like, I cannot believe I'm a landlord. I can't believe this is my house and I'm actually turning that key and getting in. I don't have to pay anyone a coin. It just changes you and makes you feel good. Those of you who have experienced it, guys, go ahead. Drop in the comments and let me know how it felt for you when you owned your piece of land, whether it was in the village, whether it's somewhere near, whether it's somewhere that grew into something different. You go ahead and drop in the comment section. It's a live podcast and let me know. When you own land, you think differently. You just think differently. All the time you're thinking of ways how you can develop it and get more out of it, how you can transform it and get to enjoy it better. I have someone who has bought land on a hill. My goodness, that had been his dream all his life, to buy land on a hill, and he finally got it. And he's always saying, I can't wait to get on my balcony and just chill and observe the world. At night, I will make sure I sit out and just watch. Why? It has been his dream, and finally he's starting to see it. It may be a mile away, but because he's seeing it, guess what? He's looking forward, and now he's dreaming of achieving that. You think differently. You start saying, my home, my soil, my future. And those are not just words, guys. They are declaration of identity. They are declarations. Because once you have land, it's different. Because you're owning land, land reconnects you to your roots. I mean, if you don't have land in your country, what connects you to your roots? It's that ownership of land that does that. You are no longer floating in the air, depending on rent and uncertainty. You are grounded, literally grounded, because now this is your land, your soil. You have that right to say. And that grounding changes your confidence. You don't really care much about what goes on as long as you have somewhere to put your head. There's a way you feel when you sleep in your own house and the month ends. You can even lose track of month endings. Not because you don't know the month is ending, but because there is no constant reminder the month is ending. You need to pay rent. It gives you a certain peace. It changes how you view the future. That is why I say buying land is not just financial empowerment, it's psychological, guys. And landlords, and you stop worrying about the landlord's mood, about eviction, about inflation. There are some people who are just on a lookout for those. You sleep better because you own your own land. You plan better because you know you're not in a hurry to do anything. When you're building, when you choose to do something, you're not in a hurry to do it because you have already somewhere you call your own. Because you know no matter what happens, you have a place to start again. If the world puts you to the ground, you know you have somewhere to start again. So it's comforting to know you've got your own land and you are listening. And if you're listening in, guys, into this, I want you to remember this line, that the poor work for rent, the wise work for roots. I want us to remember that. Always the poor work for rent. I mean, the moment the month ends, you're like, oh, at least I've got the rent. That is okay. Now I can rest. The poor always work for rent. But the wise work for the roots. They make sure their children at least will have something to that will cater for their fees in case I'm not around. Something that will give them money to develop themselves in case I'm not around. That is setting roots. I hope we can see that and get to know the difference. Because the one who plants roots can withstand storms. That is why it is key we plant roots. You know, like when you plant a mango tree, a jackfruit tree, guess what? That moment they take root, even when you're so strong, you can't just come and push them over because the weather has changed and the jackfruit tree falls. No, it's not going anywhere. So that is why we should aim at planting roots. Yeah, planting roots, because once you're grounded, you have your own place, a place you call your own. That is your address. Now nothing can shake you. Even if you lose your job today, you can stay in your house and eat your grass around the house, yeah, until you pick yourself up and start again. But without a place to call your own, when you cannot afford rent anymore, when you cannot afford to pay for where you put your head and your family, you can't, just sit back and relax. Many of us lose track when we work, when we get corporate and the company is paying the house. Once you're fired just like that, everything changes. You start hiding from people because you don't want them to get to know you don't live in that gated community anymore. You're not living in those apartments anymore because it was the company affording them. Now that you're fired, you can't afford. And so you walk around sad. Cursing everyone, blame shifting because things are not working your way. But if you have your own land, you have some kind of solace where you're like, at least I have somewhere I can go lock myself and cry and no one will come and disturb me. I just want us to change our mindsets today, and you have to think, am I living as a tenant, thinking like an owner? Because you can live as a tenant thinking like you own the place. There are some tenants who have lived in some plots of places for so long that they even fight, over other neighbors as though they own the place when they've just lived there so long, and now they in some way they think they are owners. You also have to think, am I spending like a consumer or planning like a builder? Yeah, we need to think that way, because once your mindset changes, your decisions will follow right away. You will stop saying land is expensive and start saying, how can I make it possible? That is the changing of the mindset. Land will never change, depreciate in value. It always goes up. So if you're thinking it's expensive now, it will be more expensive in 5-10 years to come. You will stop watching for perfect timing. and start preparing for ownership. Timing. Your aim is to own. You don't have a timer. Your aim is to own land as long as you get to own. That's the shift that separates dreamers from doers. You may be a dreamer, just dreaming, and I'm a doer. I grab it today, take it on, and start. You know? And when you cross that line from wishful thinking to concrete planning, that's when empowerment truly begins for anyone. So, friends, the journey to land ownership doesn't start in your wallet, it starts in your mind. Your wallet may be empty, but it starts in your mind because your mind must believe you deserve it. You deserve to own something before your hands can hold it. And that's the truth. So, next time we dig in, guys, it will be to sink in deep because we will go even deeper into the history and meaning of land for us as Africans. You will see that owning land is not just a business, it's identity, it's dignity, and it is destiny. I'm so glad that you've tuned in and I hope you have been blessed. I hope you have learned something or two. I'm just going to read the comments and see what you guys have all been about. I see Single Dad said, no. Shaboya said hello. And Shaboya said, we can hear you loud and clear. Shaboya says you are clear. Okay, Single Dad says also came in clearly. So early. Guys, thank you so much who have been in from the very beginning. You are amazing. Shaboya, Single Dad, Cedric, I can see here Jasper. Guys, thank you. And I hope you've learned a thing or two. Dina Max, thank you so much. And Dina Max says, share the live, please. Thank you guys for hanging in there and watching. I hope you have been encouraged to look at land differently. Also, I see here, Dina Max said, you can't rent a legacy, but you can rent a house. Yeah. And Cedric says, hello, everyone. Dina Max says, hello, Cedric. Guys, you have been a blast. Thank you so much for tuning in. I hope that you have been blessed, and I hope that you have had a pleasant Friday. I was opening the lines for you in case to drop a comment in case there's something you wanted to add before we close off. So in case you have something to say, Jasper says hi. And Dina says, please like and subscribe to the live. Thank you so much, Dina. Guys, I'm just waiting for those of you who are watching, who have stayed in until this time. I hope you have been blessed. And if there is no further comments, if there is no anything else to add to this, I'm going to give us a slot of 5 minutes. And if you want to say something, go ahead and type it in the comment section. If there is anything you have to question, anything you have to add to, go ahead and drop it in. It's a live podcast. And just before I close, if there's anything you have to say, I will read it. And if there's nothing, we will be closing shortly after. Otherwise, until next time, guys, you have been amazing. Thank you so much for watching. And I've been your host, Winfred. Until next time, bye, guys, and take care.